Hey everyone, this is the super ultra rare LEGO BrickLink Mushroom House designed by Jonas Kram. It was part of the successful 5 submissions for Series 2 of the BrickLink Designer Program, and I was able to get my hands on a copy. We see the LEGO logo not at the front of the box, but at the top, where we also see the name of the set in French, La Maison Champignon, and in Spanish, Casa Hongo. I hope I said that right. And yeah, this is Series 2 of the BrickLink Designer Program, as you can see here. At the back of the box, we see the set again on a white background, but with the open back shown, so we get to see a bit of the set details, as well as the minifigures. This looks like a very wholesome build, and yes, it is a building set, not a building toy, because it's an 18 plus model, so they did change that with this set. Alright, let's open the box and see what's inside. So in this box, we got 14 numbered bags, numbered from 1 to 7. There are 2 bags for each number, except for bag 4, which only has 1, and bag 6, where we got 3 bags with that number. We also have 1 unnumbered bag with some pretty large parts. And we also have no instructions, but just this card right here that tells you go download either the PDF from the BrickLink website or use the LEGO Builder app to build this with 3D. There are no instructions included in the set. And that's because of its very limited nature. There's another picture of the set on this card, as well as a look at the designer, and there's a short statement from them. Alright, let's get started with bag 1, and as usual, I'll build this without the instructions. I will point out that we got a teal brick separator in this set. Almost done with bags 1. I just need a few more pieces from the unnumbered bag to complete this building phase. Specifically, I'm going to need one of these and one of these. So bag 1 gives us this very cute minifigure right here, plus this very strange looking snail that is carrying a bunch of fruits and vegetables and has this very large flower on top. It's a very interesting idea, and it's something unique to this first bag. The next bags will all be building the mushroom house, and we'll take a look at everything in detail, including the figure at the very end of the video after building everything. In this building phase, I will also use these 3 plates from the large unnumbered bag. I just want to point out before I cover this up that they're using this bright green heart as an Easter egg in the build. That's really, really cute. Bags 2 build the foundation of the mushroom house, including a lot of the foliage at the front, the steps, so the tiling that's going to form the interior. We also have lots of unfinished connections here, etc. We're going to add more things to these in future building phases. Bag 3 builds up the skeleton of the main floor of the house and adds some of the interior details, including a very nice fireplace, as well as this swiveling chair, which can rotate like so. And we also add the door. It opens and closes and has doorknobs on both sides with these printed acorn pieces. Bag 4 builds these two fronts or facades of the mushroom house, as well as all these cute little plants and this wheelbarrow. Plus we get these two very happy minifigures. So we'll just put the house together. And this reminds me a little bit of the Natural History Museum uppermost floor, because the same pieces or similar pieces were used to give that part of the building a rounded shape. And I also remember another LEGO gift with purchase that also used these pieces are similar to achieve that shape. And this originally was a wheel arch piece, if I recall correctly, so that's some nice part usage right there. So some nice part usage here, we're using this Technic piece, not really for Technic, but just to have this curve very closely matching this one, so that we can attach this piece on top of it and clip this on and have it at just the right angle, like this. That's very smart. I'm impressed. Bags 5 built the first part of the upper floor of the mushroom house. So we add some tile work here and a bit of the surrounding walls, just a little bit of this red that goes all the way around, and I like the pattern. And then we build this little art studio right here with leaves for curtains. So that's pretty nice. And we get these very large bricks that are always interesting and fun to get. And the way they position this piece exactly is pretty genius. You would never guess how this was done if you have not seen it before. Next up we have bag 6, and remember that there are 3 bag 6 in the set. You have to open all of them at once. Bags 6 finish up the upper floor of the mushroom house with the exception of the roof. We build this nice bed, another window, this chimney right here, which looks very nice with the angles, and it reminds me of the one in the burrow from the Harry Potter theme. Treasure chest right here with a few random items, including reference to LEGO Space. And then we have this tile right here, which is a reference to another LEGO set. I believe it's a set in the LEGO Ideas theme. As you can see here, the clutch power of these pieces, which are done in the softer plastic, not the regular ABS, they feel a bit rubbery to me, and they don't hold on to these pieces particularly well. That is something that's a bit disappointing. And these are too short to include a bar here to help with the connection. Even the shortest bar would go on way too long. Yeah, so this is a bit of a problem. Bag 7, add all these foliage pieces throughout the front yard and backyard of the mushroom house, as well as build this roof right here. And this whole thing can now be attached to the main part of the house to complete the build. Unfortunately, there's a lot of studs here, so it's not something that's easily removable like a modular building, unless you just decide to set it here and not actually press it down. I'll press it down a little bit just so it doesn't go anywhere while I'm doing the review of the set. And here we have it. This is the LEGO BrickLink Mushroom House. Here's all the stuff that you get in the set. And I do want to congratulate once again the designer of the set, Jonas Kram, for a very, very successful design. This is beautiful to me, and when I first saw the set, when I saw the images, when I saw the box, I didn't really understand what the size of the set would be. This is a lot larger than I thought it would be. So here's my hand for comparison, here are the minifigures for comparison as well. Speaking of which, let's take a look at them first. We get 3 very happy minifigures in the set, 1 girl and 1 boy. This could be a girl or boy depending on how you want to look at it, and each of them has an accessory. The prints on this and this are the same, so I will not remove this piece to show you the print because it's exactly the same as this one. All of them use the medium legs, which are good because they allow for articulation, while showcasing that these are dwarves or elves or some kind of mystical creatures, so it's nice to be able to articulate them compared to the shortest legs possible. The girl has a compass. The person in the middle has an envelope, so apparently they do use postage stamps even in this universe. And finally, this one has a burlap sack, which he could use to transport some things like berries, for example, and we'll take a look at those later on in the review. And I will point out that these torsos right here are the same as the ones used in the LEGO Forest Men line, and they're very, very similar to the original Forest Men from the 1980s, so it's a nice throwback to get these again. 2 of the 3 minifigures have alternative expressions. The girl is sad or disappointed, and the boy is shocked or surprised. So these are 3 very good figures for this set. We do get an additional bag like this, which is usually used by Santa, but it could be held by any of the minifigures depending on your play patterns. We get this watering can with an optional blue flame here that actually represents flowing water, and probably want to make it point like this. So the idea is that you hold this in a minifigure's hand and they would be pouring water on some of their plants. But if I do this, then it will fall over. So if you just want to balance this without putting it on a stud, you'll have to flip that. You get different kinds of berries. So these look like blueberries to me, done using this piece with studs on the side. Their best angle is looking at them from this, but this is how you make it. Interesting part usage there. Here's one singular blueberry right here. This is a very nice strawberry. I mean, it's a bit abstract, but you can easily tell what it is, and I just like the part usage here. So that's a very successful design in my opinion. And then you have here various plants. I'm not quite sure what these are, but they're probably berries of some sort and very tasty. We have this wheelbarrow that can be used to carry these berries. For example, the blueberries and these things right here. Can we fit all of them? Probably not, but we could fit a few of them here. And then this is going to be transported by a minifigure, and the hands should fit just about right, because that is what is shown on the box. And there we go. Yeah, it is possible, so no false advertising. Usually when LEGO shows you can do something, you really can do it. So here we see the minifigure clearly being able to move the wheelbarrow. However, the wheel does not turn smoothly. There's lots of friction here. In fact, from the opposite side, the camera unfriendly angle, this does not look too good. I wish they found out a way to include one of these tile pieces on the other side, just to make it look a bit nicer, but this was too wide. So actually they shouldn't have used this round brick. They should have used a bunch of other round plates and tiles instead, just to give it a better look. So that's a little something to fix if you want to improve it, using a couple of your own pieces. We also get this big snail. And the most interesting thing to me when I saw the snail and when I built it, because I didn't realize this when I saw the pictures of the set or on the box, is this slime, this transparent slime that is under it, and it basically a little bit behind it. So it's representing the slime that a regular snail would produce as it moves along. So that's some nice attention to detail right there. The shell is done pretty well. I wish there was a bit more color variation, maybe a spiral or something. Maybe a printed piece would have helped here, but nonetheless, this does look very nice and you can easily understand what this is. This looks like a domesticated snail, so one of the minifigures can ride the snail right here by sitting here and then holding these reins. These don't actually clip onto the hands because they're too thin. You can kind of imagine doing that. Yeah, so you can kind of hold it like this, but it's not going to hold itself in place super well. Let's try that. Yeah, as you can see, maybe if you, with time and if you bend this just the right way, it will eventually settle. Okay, yeah, this works, but it might snap out of place in just a while. But yeah, that's definitely an option. And the snail is carrying what looks to be like tomatoes or radishes, more berries right here, done using minifigure heads that are unprinted, as well as this very nice flower. And I'll show it to you from a different angle. So this is very beautiful. I really enjoyed putting this flower together, and I like the color choices here. They're using a bit of teal, a bit of the sand green, light blue, yellow. It just all makes sense. And then these leaves conveniently shade the rider from the rays of the sun, and they also shade the fruit as well. So very nice part usage here to use these. These are usually palm leaves, but here we're using them as just leaves for a flower. And basically it's nice part usage because we're shading the rider and the leaves, so it's intelligent in that way. And we're also using some nice part usage for the eyes. We're using these mini scream swirl pieces recolored to pearl gold to represent the eyes. This is a very interesting choice. I would have never thought of that, but it does work, and they are adjustable, so you could pose these a bit. Although close to vertical is probably ideal. Here's what the snail looks like from the bottom. Of course, this stuff is going to fall out if you flip it like that. And then here's a look from the other side. And again, a look from the top with a very nice flower. And these fruits, if they're not on the snail, you can add them to a list of fruits, either in the wheelbarrow or just hanging around. So now that we talked about everything in the set, except for the mushroom house, let's move on to the main thing that this set is about. And that is the house itself and grounds. So this is a very impressive build. It looks simple, like when I saw the set for the first time, like, oh, that's cute. It's a nice, simple set. There's actually a lot more than meets the eye. There's detail everywhere you look, much more than regular sets from LEGO City, LEGO Friends, etc. This is on a completely different level because it is designed with AFOLs in mind. Adult fans of LEGO more than kids. I do think that kids who have patience, they're going to be able to build this and appreciate this, especially if they're focused more on display than play. But for younger kids, they're probably not going to enjoy this set too much because there's just lots of pieces to add before you get to play with anything. But I guess it depends. I think if I was a kid, I would have probably built the large structures. I would have ignored all these foliage pieces on the outside just to build it faster and get right to playing with it. But if you do take the time to build it meticulously, I think you'll enjoy the final result. Now, let's just take a quick look at the whole thing before talking about the details. So you see here, it's almost completely closed off except for this back right here. So it's basically 3 walls done and the 4th wall is not. And you'd have to make this using your own pieces or buy another copy of the set if you want to have it completely closed off. And that was a choice made by the designer to allow for us to see the interior. So this is kind of like a slice of a mushroom house. I personally would have preferred it was closed off, but I understand that the designer wanted to do things differently. So yeah, now that we've seen the whole thing overall, let's take a look at some of the details. We have lots of foliage all around the front yard. We have this thing that at first I thought this was a pumpkin, but then when we added these pieces on top, I realized that this is actually the top of a giant carrot that's growing underground. So I was thinking about the scale of this set, and I think this is literally minifigure scale compared to human scale. So me as a big human, I would think that this carrot is regular size to me, but minifigures are going to think it's gigantic. Just like if I bought a real carrot from the supermarket, they would see it the same way. So this is something that's literally designed with minifigures. If they were to live in our world with our scale, what would they look like? We would not be increased in size if they just kept their regular size, but they lived in our world. Well, they would live in something like this, where the carrots are large, the mushrooms are large, but the minifigures themselves and their personal accessories are small. So it's a very nice idea, and kudos again to the designer for thinking of this idea and executing it very well. Some nice railing here. We have these steps that are actually going up with a bit of an angle here at the front to get up to the front door. The front door has a knob that has a print of an acorn on it, which is very appropriate. If we open the door, we see that we have a welcome mat as well as more interesting things inside, and we will look at the interior in a moment. We have a mailbox here that can hold 1 or 2 pieces of mail, although it's very easy for them to fall out. But it's the thought that counts here. I have here a traditional water pump. This is done very well, by the way, so I'll just bring this in closer so you can see it. This water pump is not built using a lot of pieces. Actually has some nice part usage here with a snake head recolored in black. It's probably from Ninjago or something similar like that. And the idea is that you move this up and down like this, and it's going to gain water out from this pump into this pail. So that's very, very nice to see. I have not seen one of these in a long time. Comment down below if you've ever used one of these in real life. But yeah, very, very well done for the part usage. We have a mushroom right here that's kind of a mini-me of the big one. And we have these acorns that are done very simply, but I like the part usage and the idea to use an egg as an acorn. That's also very successful. This piece right here is not holding on to the other piece very well, as I explained earlier. It's holding on by a thread. I actually have to modify things just to make this hold on a bit better. It could fall off at any time. It's not very stable, so I'm going to try not to touch it. Aside from that, the rest of the build is put together pretty well, and this is not the fault of the designer. It's the fault of LEGO for not having enough clutch power in this piece. So they should have tested that better before making the set, putting it in production, or if they realized that this piece was no good, then maybe they should have redesigned just this particular part. But maybe I'm the only one with these issues. Maybe I'm in the minority. So if you did get this set, or if you know about this piece, you got this piece recently from LEGO in this color, comment down if you have better luck than me in terms of its clutch power. So moving on, we have this big plant right here, which is a type of flower. We have another flower right here done with a very similar design, although not identical, as well as these large leaves coming out, and I like the angles of them. You could even adjust them according to your preference. So that's pretty cool. I think it makes most sense for them to be like this at 3 different angles. These could actually be representing blades of grass now that I think about it. So that's very interesting. Like, imagine you're a tiny minifigure and a blade of grass just looks massive compared to you. That's just so interesting to think about. All right, so now going into the interior, I will remove this top floor. I did not like fully attach it on all of these studs just to make it easy to show you what's going on the ground floor. So we've already taken a look at the door. We have this swiveling chair, although it cannot rotate a full 360 degrees just because of the nature of the limited room. So like you could rotate it just a little bit. We might be off on the build on this one, but I don't think it can rotate the full 360 degrees. We have here this kind of table that could be used by the person who's sitting in this chair, and it looks like a painter's thing, whatever this thing is called. The carpet or the rug here is done using a 4-leaf clover pattern, so that's very nice. And there's a single stud here to allow a minifigure to stand. That's very nice for posability. And then over here we have a fireplace. It looks quite nice with the flames right there. And then there's this cauldron, and they're cooking up some soup or some evil potion, whatever these minifigures are cooking. I have a bookshelf here with some books in various colors, and a goblet here on top of the fireplace. And we also have a whisk. So that's probably what the kitchen area would be for this mushroom house. And also notice that the fireplace emits its fumes into this chimney, and this continues on the upper floor, which we're going to look at now. And it's easier to just show you this separately, and then I'll put everything back together afterwards. So for the upper floor, there is no, by the way, stairs or ladder to go between the ground floor and the upper floor. You have to use your imagination for that. But on the upper floor, we have this treasure chest with a bunch of items, including a gem that was harvested probably from outer space. We have this tile of a LEGO Ideas submission, and this is basically relating this theme, the BrickLink Designer Program, to LEGO Ideas, and maybe the minifigures have actually went here in the past on vacation, for example. You see here a bed that's actually made out of leaves. That's some interesting design right there. The curtains for the windows here and here are also done using leaves. And these leaves are actually recolored blade pieces, so that's some nice part usage right there. The rug right here, or the carpet, is done using this flame orange and regular orange colors. That's pretty cool. We have some drawers right here on both sides of the bed. There's only one bed, by the way, so probably one of the minifigures lives here, and the others live in other mushroom houses or other types of housing. And finally, we have a paintbrush right here. This looks like an easel, and whoever lives here is going to be painting various scenes, and perhaps actually they painted this rendition of that particular LEGO Ideas set. So it kind of makes sense to me that you paint it and then you hang it on the wall. That's a story that makes sense to me. Around the outside, we see various white dots that make the red exterior less boring. So these are attached in very clever ways using a particular LEGO Technic piece. I'll actually try if I can show it to you. So this is actually a LEGO Technic piece that we're using just to get that curve right and get the angle right, and we're attaching this piece on top of it. So I would have never thought of this solution, but kudos to the designer for thinking about that. And we're using another LEGO Technic piece to attach these in a centered way. Just like that. So these arcs done in teal. The teal on red combination looks very, very nice to me. And here we continue the chimney. Again, this reminds me of the LEGO Harry Potter burrow set that came out earlier this year. I like the way this was done in both the color scheme and the angles, and the use of the masonry bricks as well. I didn't mention this before, but there are more letters for this person. Maybe they don't read their letters, or maybe they're going to send these letters off. And then there's also a lamp for use in the dark. And all of this is capped off with this roof that's held in place by only 4 studs, so the roof is meant to be removed easily for display or play purposes, although it's probably more for display. But then putting this here, this is not meant to be removed easily, so this is actually meant to be fixed in place like this, actually offset by 1 stud back, like this. And if I press it down everywhere, it's just going to be very hard to remove again, so I won't do that, but that's the idea that is intended with this set. So now that we've taken a look at this set and its features, I want to talk about the build experience without the instructions. I thought it was great. Overall, there were some tricky parts. Figuring out some of the inner details are not shown very well in the 3D view. I had to do a little bit of guesswork, but overall it was fine. So specifically these parts right here, they were a little bit challenging. Some parts of the ground, surprisingly enough, were challenging at the very beginning, but it's not too bad. And once you get upstairs, it becomes a little bit easier, in my opinion. The snail was a little bit challenging to figure out the studs not on top techniques used here, but once you figure out the pattern, everything else is simple enough. And most of the exterior details, what you see is what you get. So you can see obviously how everything is made just by looking at the box or the 3D view of the very final building phase. The build experience here is, I'd say, reasonable. If you were to build this set, the very first set that you build without the instructions is this one, you might find a little bit of difficulties just because there's a lot of pieces here, but overall it's not something that's very difficult. Now, let's do a size comparison between this set and a few other related sets. This is the BrickLink Snack Shack from the previous version of the BrickLink Designer program. So at release time, this is a set that cost $50 US, and at release time, this set cost $90 US. Both of them are more expensive on the aftermarket, but if you get them during their limited release time availability, then you can legitimately judge the set based on its regular retail price, so that is what I will do. Now, in terms of the size, I think that, yeah, this one has half the pieces, and it just looks a lot smaller compared to this one, just because it's a lot more compact. A lot of the build goes inside the snack shack, and you're not going to see that from the outside. Here, on the other hand, you have lots of these pieces that just go all over the place. You also have this snail, and you have like one piece, for example. This piece just adds a lot of the visual impression of size for this set, so the Mushroom House appears to be a lot bigger, and it appears to be a lot better value compared to the Snack Shack. So these sets are the least expensive for their respective waves. This is the least expensive set for Series 1, and similarly this one for Series 2. Here's a comparison with the LEGO Cozy House from 2023. This is part of the LEGO Creator theme, and it's one of my favorite sets ever. And you can see that they're roughly the same scale, not the exact same size, but like the height are comparable, and the general footprint is roughly comparable, although this one is a bit narrower when you look at it this way. But it has a bit more depth compared to this one. Also, this one is completely sealed, whereas this one is open. But this one does have an open back mode where you flip things around. And then this one actually appears wider at the front compared to the Mushroom House. And it also has a lot more going on the interior. It's actually not as deep, but there's still more room, so more things to do. And this one actually was cheaper. On the other hand, this one does not have as much foliage as this. And the build is more standard and utilitarian compared to the more fantasy nature of the Mushroom House. And also with the Mushroom House, you also get this big snail. You get a bunch of things like these side builds, and especially the wheelbarrow, whereas here you don't get as much. You just get this recycle bin, this mailbox, and a bunch of toys that are interesting callbacks to LEGO history, but they're done with minimal piece counts. So overall, I think that when you compare these two, this one was actually costing $65 US when it came out. I think it's still on sale for that price, if not cheaper, when it goes on discount before it retires, versus this at $90 US. So I feel like the value here could have been a bit better. I think they could have sold this at $75 or $80 US, but that would have been maybe too greedy of me because this is a BrickLink Designer program set, and it's not licensed, but there has to be a certain percentage of the revenues that gets paid out to the designer, so that has to be taken into account by LEGO when pricing the set. Also, because it's limited availability, you need to charge a bit more to break even on the set compared to this set that costs less because you're just making 1 million copies of it. So I actually can understand why they charge 90. Also, like there's 964 parts in the set, and some are pretty large. Like these bricks right here are quite large. So I can understand why they charge 90, although of course I would like for these things to be cheaper, especially because this was the entry level set for Series 2. Last time we had a set for $50 US, and now the cheapest thing you can get costs 90. And I hope that they reverse this trend in future series. I do want the cheapest BrickLink set to always be around $40, $50 and not more than that, just to make it affordable to as many LEGO fans as possible. And so that basically wraps up my thoughts on price and value for the set. On the other hand, if you did not buy the set when it was first being put on sale in June 2024, and you want to get it later, you have to pay a lot of money to get it new sealed in box. At the time that I record this video, the cost of this set, the cheapest that you can get it, is around $150 US, so quite more than the original retail price of $90. So yes, it has gone up because it is rare, because it's limited edition basically, so people are selling it for as much as they can, which I understand. So if you missed out on this set, you want to get it now, you will have to pay a little bit more. On the other hand, because it's a BrickLink set, it does not have any unique pieces or unique prints. Every single piece that you see here, you can buy separately from BrickLink or from LEGO.com in some cases. You could recreate this, or maybe a smaller version of this, or a version that is more to your liking, using the pieces in your own LEGO collection, as well as the pieces that you buy separately. So you don't need to pay a lot more just to get this set sealed in box if you just want to get the minifigures, for example, and maybe have a few of these smaller builds. Like let's say, for example, you really like the snail, you want to reproduce this, you don't need to spend $150 online just to get this. You just buy the pieces and put it together all by yourself. I do want to mention as well that this set came out in the same year as the LEGO Mushroom Girl from the collectible minifigure series. This is a very cute girl, and I think she's the actual owner of this house. This looks like the perfect place for her. I don't know if this was designed first, or this was designed first, or if it was just a strange coincidence that this and this match so nicely, but either way, I think that if you get this set, definitely throw in a Mushroom Girl as well. This is technically retired, but you can find it for pretty cheap last time I checked, so you definitely want to get at least one of these to go with your Mushroom House, if not more. And yeah, this is just a very cute figure, and I would really like to see this included in the Mushroom House by default. But I understand that these pieces are not pieces that can be used by BrickLink designers because they're limited edition. So even if I wanted to make a submission with this piece, they're not going to let me, at least at the time that this was submitted. So definitely get these two together because they go really, really well together, and they're just so cute. So yeah, that sums up my thoughts on the LEGO BrickLink Mushroom House. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.